Hey there, so it's Tokenomist, it's a stream, it's Friday, he's joined me in a hotel room. I've come to Ibiza with a buddy of mine just to have a whole week off. Not about a week, until the wife has a week, but it'll be a week. Alright, so what's been going on in the markets? So this is the nearest you're going to get to NFTs and crumpets for morning times. What's the time now? Full jet lag's only an hour ahead. It's 11:29 here. Almost morning still. Got here straight away, had beers. Right, NFTs have been dropping like a stone over the last few days, and there's a number of different reasons. If you go into any different Discord, you're going to see the same questions being asked. I've got a bunch of different NFTs, I've got a bunch of different Discords. I mean, there's a few that I tend to stick around. I'm pretty well adhered to the Cryptodads one. I like sitting on that one. I don't always communicate because I've got busy or other things going on in my life, but I just keep an eye on it. And actually, I've got some really interesting news going on. So those of you who have a crypto dad who are watching my CPU, I'm using a probably quite dodgy internet connection here, but there's an announcement came in yesterday in the Cryptodads Discord, and I think it's pretty interesting what that dictates perhaps the future, or where the NFT project is going to go, or something that it offers. It's kind of read between the lines, but I think it's quite exciting. So I'm going to cover that in a bit as well. There's been a further update on the Winter Bears situation, where they've got the DAO, which I think is a strange name to call a DAO company. It's a bit like pedo, but others disagree with me. Whatever, I wouldn't even try it. Anywho, so you got the DAO, which promises to offer a commission for, if we as a community in the Winter Bear, say we, I'm obviously an old Winter Bear as well. If as a community we help bring value or investments, and the door's going to knock in there, there's going to be a cleaner going. We've got a sign on the door saying "Don't disturb" or "No molester," and they're going to go no. Anyway, so I'm waffling. Right, so there's a kind of a commission, a bounty, a return if we as a community bring people to a particular DAO platform. You get a token, and that token is redeemable for royalties or a share of revenue. So it kind of requires essentially us to at this stage, all I know is to promote it or to do that. So I that's an avenue potentially, and one avenue of utilising the value of a community that works together to bring people in, which actually says sometimes maybe why it's good to have a better community, the value of a community, I don't know. So that's one thing, but there's actually something a bit more interesting coming up, which is going to be discussed at the town hall. So I've got my mate here. So is it Friday today? Friday. It's Friday, right? Okay, so town hall is tonight. So there's a town hall. It's tonight for me. I'm in Europe, the homogenous country of Europe. There's a town hall where they're going to discuss a bear staking system. So that's pretty exciting. I think that's what a lot of people wanted. So recently I made a query saying it's a shame they moved away from the DAO system. Then they said they haven't moved away. I think there's a lack of clarity. But me personally, everyone's got their own views on it. I think sometimes people are afraid to speak up. I think a lot of people simp for some of these leaders who we've never met. Some of these projects, we've never met any of them, nearly all of them. In most cases, we don't even know who they are for the large part. And there's what the hell's going on? There's like knocks on doors getting banged, so you have to deal with this. There's a lot of simping going on, and I think that's not healthy. It's your investment money. You need to be able to ask questions. And if you're in a community where you can't answer questions, what's going to happen if we push people away for asking questions because they're unsure or they're concerned or they're nervous? You know, if someone asks a question because they're nervous about something, it's not FUD. It's they're concerned. Not everyone's going to agree with everything, and I think this is something that I'm going to come to. And I put a tweet thread out this morning. I think you might find it interesting. You might not, whatever. But if we don't let people ask questions, what happens is we go right. You guys gone. They leave, they sell, they go underneath floor price, they go floor price. Oh, it's bots selling them. It's no, they just don't want to be in that community anymore. They want to hold something that makes them feel bad. You know, we've all been in a Twitter area. With Twitter, you're always one tweet away from walking into an absolute whirlwind of an argument, a political argument. You're like, how did I get here? I was looking at cats, and now I'm involved in a heated debate about pronouns and everything else. So I bought some, I thought, deodorant this morning, and I sprayed it onto my armpits, and it actually was shaving foam, and I've just noticed there's shaving foam all over the table. But it is shaving foam, it's nothing else, it's not that thick. So I think we've got to be able to let people ask questions. They don't ask questions in a way that challenges the plans of things. Then what we have is we get a smaller and smaller community, and then what happens next? Someone else raises another issue at a later date in that smaller community, and the community gets smaller, and the number of holders gets less, and the desire to buy in gets smaller and smaller, and it has a negative effect long term. So if you're in a community and you feel like you're part of an army where you go, no, that's FUD. Just think about it. Think someone might have put their hard-earned money in a project, and they're unsure about something. Let them ask the question. have a respectful discourse, because what you'll find is you'll win more people. You'll win more bears with honey than you will with traps or something like that. There's a phrase like that, isn't there? And I think we've got to remember this. So that's that. But there was a bit of a confusion, I think, in the community there. I think it's quite interesting. The town hall's going to answer a lot of these questions. We'll be asked questions, and I think the announcement yesterday about the bear staking is exactly what people want. I think it's bang on the money. It's bang on trend, and I think that bodes. It's exciting news. And certainly the price for it has been holding up nicely. It's been sitting around the 0.5 mark, 0.58. They talked about buying back bears yesterday, buying back winter bears. I can never have these conversations with my parents. Oh, I've made an investment, Mum, in a bear, and we're gonna stake those bears, and those bears are going to provide us smaller bears that we can use to earn yield on, passive income yield bears, Mum. Don't you know about these bears? So I don't know much more than anyone else, but there is. If you haven't been following Discord, it's quite interesting. Now let's while we're talking about this staking and this DAO, it's not DAO. So this is the other thing. I put a thread about DAO. People get DAO confused with staking. You do have DAOs where there are staking. It doesn't mean DAO means staking. DAO means decentralized autonomous organization. It just means you share the governance. So you and I both have a token or an NFT or a certificate, and we both get to vote on things. We both get to raise issues. We both get to propose things. If you've ever done any staking or any governance for, say, Aave or any of the other DeFi protocols, and don't get it twisted, I'm not talking about staking here. I'm talking about just governance. So, but they happen to have governance on them. So if you go to 1inch or you go to Aave, you can lodge your coins or whatever, and you can governance. You can be part of the governance thing. You can vote on issues, and you get rewarded for governance. That's the whole point of having the Aave token, for example. And you can propose things, and you can second things, and you can whatever. You can reject things. So you could propose a new leader of a decentralized autonomous organization, a new dev or whatever you want to call them. You can propose a new boss. You can propose to remove the boss. You can propose to create more tokens if there is available supply. You can propose to stop producing more tokens and burn them. There's all these different things you can do, and there's different degrees of decentralization, which is again what I'll cover in my own tweet thread about. And it was, I think we are ultimately going to have some kind of modified degree eventually of decentralization, where you actually have the most effective rules of government. The most effective governments in terms of getting things done are dictatorships, essentially. It doesn't mean they're the best ones, but they are the most effective. And as effective doesn't mean good. Effective just means they get things done. Now, if the thing they want to get done is invade another country, if there's one person in charge who has complete control, they can make an effective decision that they're effective. It's a lot more effective, the process of government, for them to get that done, because there's one person, they make the decision, they go, I'm going to invade a country, and they haven't got to ask anyone. If you've got 10 people to ask, then you've got to balance the views of 10 people. If you've got 10,000 token holders and everyone gets a say in it, everyone's proposing things, you have a bit of a car crash. So what you then have to have is you have to nominate a leader to go, this is my thesis, this is where I want to take us, this is the roadmap that I suggest you do, vote for me with your governance, and we will run it this way for an epoch of 5 years or a term of 5 years, and essentially we have what is no different to a democracy. But then those DAO tokens, or that DAO system that we are trying to work towards, decentralization of businesses, doesn't become any different to having just shareholders in a company and you have a centralized business that we are shareholders of. So some people value decentralization, some people don't. I think there's varying degrees. My concern is, at the moment, we've got these big monolithic companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook. They're watching this, they've got the resources, they're waiting, they're learning what we're interested in, and they're going to come in and they're going to take the industry. And we're going to give up our desire for decentralization in certain things. Like, I don't need my golden sword of power on a blockchain game to be on level 1 finality of record, of hard record keeping. I don't need it to be super decentralized where it's stored. It's just a game, it's a toy for a game. I just want to know that I've got it still. But when we give that up, there is that creeping shift. Facebook started being just something where you could just put your pictures up. Then it became a communications platform. Then it became a marketplace. Then it became a place for business. Or it became a business. Then it became a marketplace. It became a place for countries to control the outcomes of elections. There's a creeping shift now. They want to create a stable currency. And Facebook has a desire to create part of the Metaverse and become a central linchpin to the Metaverse. It is that sleepy shift, slowly, then gradually, then suddenly. And so if we allow big businesses to swoop in because we're disorganized with our decentralizations or our attempts to try and do DAOs where they're DAOs but in name only. What we're going to have is we're just going to be running into each other. We're going to be, if we don't call these things out, we're going to have centralized companies just come in and go, it's like taking candy from a baby. And by the end of it, we're all buying our avatars for our computer games off of Facebook again. That's what I would like to avoid. I would like to, because I worry about where that then goes to. And those big decentralized companies clearly have backdoors in from government, and you end up having a system with just recreate what we already have, and it's done nothing further. So that's just that. Right, I was talking about Cryptodads, and I said I'm going to show you now. We're talking about staking. So exciting information coming out in the media, in the crypto media, or which is basically just Twitter and Discord, about Winter Bears. That's great. Keep an eye out for the town hall today. But let's have a quick look. I want to show you something that I saw on the Cryptodads announcement from Anthony J, one of the devs for it. So let me just slide my screen over and let's have a look at what's on my screen. And it's me again, just basically shared the wrong screen. Right, let's bring this over. Actually, tell you what, let's give it Discord. Alright, I'm learning. I've had a few beers last night. Right, here we go. So what we can see here is the Discord. This is the announcement. I want to just bring this up, okay? So, hi everyone. As we mentioned in the Ask Me Anything, they did a really good AMA the other day, like Twitter Spaces, but on Discord. It was fantastic. It was voice-based. It took a load of questions. They were on there for ages. They're so transparent. It's insane. Moments of shill. But anyway, look at this, right? They're looking to fill a position in the team, and they just brought an animator on. That's great, because given that we're trying to do is build, I think, an animation brand. They're looking for an advanced web developer who understands the mechanics of staking. Now, very small aspect of it, but why would Cryptodads need to have a web dev on board who understands staking mechanics and involved with NFTs? Okay, very, very small little snippet that I think many. Just going to bring my screen back. I think many people will have missed the value of that. Read between the lines. If Cryptodads starts to looking to do staking as well, it just adds a whole reason to hold your token for the long term. So that's very exciting. I think that's something that's a very, very small bit of news. Read between the lines. What does that mean for me? Well, that's great, cool. There is talk as well about incentivizing people to keep their dads, not just dumping them as soon as they release the crypto mums, which the snapshot is coming in about a week and a half's time, and I think this may be somewhere in part of that. So there's not much more than that at this stage, but you read between the lines, and that's the kind of thing. Remember how much everyone just went absolutely goo goo gaga when Walmart announced they were going to take on a crypto payments dev or crypto payments business development officer. So that's the kind of thing you can get these snippets of morsels of information to see where the direction of something is going. That's a good direction. I like that. At the end of the day, and I'm going to now get to the point about NFTs dropping as well. You want your NFTs to be more than just a profile picture. I would have thought so. I think we all, unless you've just paid £10 or $8 or whatever for a profile picture from just one of many and it's cute, whatever, and you want to support the artist, great, that's fine. But if you want more than that and you want to be part of maybe something that changes and something that makes you money, then you really need to have some utility into these things. And this is again what I mentioned. Winter Bears, they're going to do some kind of incentive from PyDAO if you help bring value locked in their DeFi protocol. Well, that's the value of a community. So even if maybe you're not great at it, if someone else works hard at it, you will get a share of the spoils. That's cool. Okay, that's the value of the community. So how much is and then you can look at that and go, well, how much money could that generate consistently over say 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years? Let's value it 10 times. How much could it generate for the network? Well, what's those earnings times 10? What's those earnings times 20 times 30 or whatever you want to do it as? Okay, well, that's potentially a value as an overall value of the community in just that one area. Okay, well, let's give that a market cap. Let's call that the market cap. How much are the tokens worth now? So there's a number of different ways that you can roundabout value NFTs. It's not just going, oh, it's just a JPEG. What's a JPEG worth? I could just right click it and save it, which is exactly what I used to think. And then I thought, well, hang on, let's be smart about this. Can I actually value these in any way, shape or form? How would I value them? If I had to value them, how would I value them? And I think that's one other example. I said before in other streams, I am leveraging the value of the NFTs I'm part of and the communities I'm part of to try and build up my following. I was on a plane yesterday from London to Ibiza and picked up another 100 followers from the Cryptodads, and I'm going to try and follow all of them, and I hope they can all follow me. And that's one whole community of people. I've only got so much time to spend in one set community. You'll find me mostly dwelling in Winter Bears, Cryptodads, or Crypto T-Rex, and I'm trying to sort of play around in the other ones as well, like Triple Turtles and things. And what other ones have I got up there? D's nuts. D's nuts. I think it's an absolute sleeper of a project. Cheapest chips for the tokens, relatively speaking, and I think there's also a certain sweet spot price. So I look at some projects where they're cheap, and I go, I think people would buy that because it's 0.03 or it's 0.06, and someone would buy it up to 0.19 as a punt, as an absolute punt, the ordinary person. So I think that's a bit of a sleeper project, but I'll cover that in another episode because I want to get on with my day and enjoy the sun and everything else. So right. Let's talk about this. NFTs have been dropping. So why have NFTs been dropping? Now there's a really interesting Twitter user. I'm going to just share my screen again. Oh, I just need to bring it. Let's bring it over. All right. So I'll just bring up my screen like this. Oh, this is my YouTube. Where are we at? Right. This guy here, Zenica33. This guy, this girl, could be anyone. We've got no idea. It could be a group of people. Zenica33 on Twitter. Recommend following it. And they put a Google Sheets link out every morning. So let me bring up this Google Sheets link. I'll show you what's interesting about it. So this is the daily stats for, I think it's today. And it's a list of all the major projects. There's obviously loads more projects than this, we all know there is, but they've just put a few, the main ones that we will more often than not look for. I'm sure there'll be loads on there that aren't on there. I have nothing to do with me. Please don't ask me to go, oh, I should put this one on there. It's to really give an indication of how the market's looking, and there aren't many good portfolio trackers of NFTs at the moment. So this is a list of a bunch of projects, and it's a list of the mint price, how much they went for, but more importantly, yesterday's price and today's price, and the change over the last 24 hours of that NFT. This is the floor price of those projects. So what we've got here, what we found was this is slightly more green balanced to red now, but it's still pretty evenly spread green to red. Got a lot of, we've got here all the data actually. Okay, so it's just the 7th to the 8th moment. So, but we can see there's a lot of them are red. You know, you've got CryptoPunks down, Bored Ape Yacht Club down, Cyberkongs down, Cool Cats down. A few here that are up like Damien Hirst, Anonymous. What else there? Luke down, Gutter Cat Gang down, Meebits from Emergence haven't moved, Mutant Ape Yacht Club down, Doge Pounds up 1%, Subducks up a little bit. Podgy Penguins down, World of Women down. You get the general gist of this. Lazy Lions up a touch. There's a lot that aren't on there actually. This does Sappy Seals up a little bit. Some are up a lot. Some of the smaller projects, but there's an awful lot of big projects out there that are down. And so you're thinking, if you're looking at your project and going, what's happened to our project? You know, why is my project down? So Cryptodads, for example, has come down to about 1.0. Let's just refresh this actually. What's that now? 1.08 on the ground floor. 1.15. Okay, it's up a touch from this morning. And you go, well, you know, why is my project down? Well, if you're the only NFT you've got, you might think that in isolation that your project is down and it's struggling and what's going on with it. And these things do have sheer volatility. So what we look for in investments are, if you look for an investment in NFT, you're looking for what's called an asymmetrical bet. An asymmetrical bet is where maybe you've got the downside of £1,000, for example, £1,000, $1,000, but the upside of 10,000 is an asymmetry. Okay, how much you can go down is a lot less than how much you can go up. Now that's always the way. You know, you buy Google stock. Realistically speaking, it's not always the way, but you could say it could be the case for everything ever. You know, it can only go down a finite amount, but it can always go up loads. But there's also realism, you know, in that. Whereas some of these NFTs, what we're looking at is the asymmetry where they can really get to in the longer term. How much could the value of that community, that market cap of that community be? And there's an asymmetry there. And in return for that asymmetry, you're going to see wild swings of volatility because the markets can be less liquid. And if there are fewer numbers of items, so if there's only 1,000, you're going to see wilder swings because there are less products on the market. And it's easier for someone to move the price down. If you've only got 100 items for sale of a 1,000 NFT project thing, so a good example of that is Tropical Turtles. They've only got about 1,500, I think it is, 1,500 NFTs available. So if there's 100 for sale, 150 for sale at any given time, that's a lot less liquidity than say Cryptodads if there was 1,000 for sale. It's relatively speaking, but the point being is it's much easier to have bigger swings in the prices just because someone's listed theirs for, you know, a price a bit lower and there's not that many others to kind of match the small gaps in the middle. So you get wilder swings. You get the same as small cap penny stocks where you've got less liquidity and you'll see the bid spread, bid ask is wider, and there's just a lot more volatility. But that volatility is what gives you that wild swinging upside. So providing you don't, you know, you've got the stomach for it, the appetite for that destruction, then you can do it. You've got to look at a lot of these things as well as this is money that you will probably never get back. So you've got to, you know, there's there's this kind of knocking of diversification. Oh, if you diversify, you erode your gains. I think I take a hedge fund strategy approach with these sorts of things. Hedge funds will they'll look at 10, 20 projects maybe, and they'll know that 90% of them will go to zero. A couple of them will keep the value, but one will 20x, and it will more than cover. And they have to. And their approach is this: is the returns that they could get on just one of those will cover all of the losses and still be worthwhile. And that's the general hedge fund approach. One has to have the ability to outstrip everything because it covers for those losses. I think that's probably a sensible approach in NFT projects. Everyone has a different view. That's my approach anyway. So, and therefore I don't become attached to one particular project. I look at the right things. So these NFT projects have been dropping hard. A lot of people have been panicking different discords. So why have they been dropping? And everyone's got their own views on them. I think I'm just go back to my screen so you can just see my lovely face again. Let's get me on the screen. There we go. Bloodshot eyes, hiding behind glasses. Why have they been dropping? So the price of Ethereum has been going up. So if you could imagine that the price of Ethereum, you can imagine it's $3,500 right now. I might just start talking in pounds just to confuse people. So Ethereum right now is 2,737, of course. Price of Ethereum is $3,500, $3,600 as we speak. That price of Ethereum goes to $10,000. I think there's an awful lot less people who are going to get into the space and be able to afford an NFT. So at the prices they currently are. So if an NFT, for example, is if the Tokenomist NFT is 1 ETH, and someone goes, I really want to get into this, so I'm going to put my savings together, my fiat money, I'm going to enter this space for the first time. This is the on-ramp, this is the adoption moment. I've got my $3,500 ready to go, I'm going to buy one. And then overnight the price of Ethereum, and they haven't yet bought Ethereum, the price of Ethereum goes to $10,000, for example, in this crazy scenario. That'd be great, wouldn't it? They're not going to be able to afford an NFT anymore. For my particular one, there'll be a 0.3 of it. I don't have an NFT, I'm just saying in this scenario. So then they're going to miss out. So you might be buying some of the cheaper ones and they're going to be coming up a little bit. People look for some opportunities in the smaller areas, but it just stands to reason. There's more people with less money than there are with more money. Now people with more money have more money to spend, can buy more, but they perhaps have also slightly more, not always, but perhaps a slightly more honed investment thesis. So that's certainly always going to have an impact. As the price of some of these altcoins run up, we remember what happens, before even NFTs happen, remember what happens when certain NFT altcoins have their IDOs or they launch. What happens? People use the decentralized platforms, the DEXs, the Uniswaps, the Sushi Swaps of this world. Use Sushi Swap, help my holding, help my portfolio, slice. There's gas issues, isn't it? It becomes expensive to use these things, and then people balk at buying them. I want to delist an NFT, a couple of NFTs I have. And every time I go to delist them, they're like, it's like $100, $150 to delist it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend $100. And even if it's the actual NFT is worth $3,000, I don't want to spend $100 on delisting something. I can't stand it. It should be free. It's absurd. How is this the better innovation of society? I have to pay to take something down. Imagine going on eBay and saying, I just want to delist that car for sale now because I've sold it. That'd be $100. But you didn't sell it. I sold it somewhere else. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I've got to pay you to take it off. Well, you can keep it running. What if I sell it? Well, then you've got to. It just doesn't. That just doesn't make sense. How does that make sense? But I have a bunch of them there. So it affects my behaviour. The price of gas affects my behaviour. Oh, Ethereum's terrible. It's never going to fix it. I don't think any. Let's put it this way. There isn't a single layer 1 blockchain right now. Not a single one that has the ability to handle global 10 years time full adoption. There's not a single one without using layer 2 scaling solutions. So that's where it'll be. So if it's not Ethereum now, what happened with Solana when they got smashed to pieces, it started to struggle and it collapsed and had all the other issues. So these things happen. But the price of gas puts people off. And that's where things like Mutable X will be very good, I think, Polygon and all the other stuff. Anyway, so that's that. So where am I going with this? It affects our behaviour. So when the price of Ethereum goes up, when there becomes congestion on the marketplace, when other altcoins are running, which they have been, if you saw my video, my first video I put the other day, why I'm buying Phantom, I literally just called it. It was $1.30, $1.25. What happened? It's up 100%. It was $2.40 this morning, 4 days. That's pretty damn good. I'm going to rep my winners. I've also invested in Lloyd shares about 3-4 years ago. They went into profit. I forgot that I even had them, and they're now way down 30%. They're actually my worst performing TradFi. So don't always get them right, but. The point I'm getting at is the price of gas can affect our behaviour. The price of Ethereum will affect our behaviour. The value that we attach to certain NFTs, or the ability for new people to come into the space, is going to be tempered and affected by the price of Ethereum. And the price of Solana, let's not forget, I mean, I've got Solana, I like Solana, I think Solana's a great platform. It's very, I love buying on FTX and then sending it to other wallets to use that Ethereum because it's just quicker. It's a very slick system like Gemini. The problem is you go and buy a Solana NFT and they're just, it's tons of money as well. These things are expensive and the price keeps going up, it becomes difficult, which then also plays another problem. So I have Paladin Pandas, and I know last night, and what caused a lot of these problems is the Mekaverse drop. Now, someone might know this better than me, but the price of Mekaverse last night, of the NFTs, there were prices I heard being called from between 3 and 8 ETH. Let's talk about 8 ETH. Let's call it, you know, it's easier, 10 ETH, right? Or no, 8 ETH, $30,000. $30,000. What game is it that requires you to buy a $30,000 NFT? I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Now, am I going to be, if I can get one, I mean, I didn't want to queue up or do any of that stuff. I remember looking at it thinking I was going to do it, and then when there's hundreds of thousands of people on it last night, it's sucked a lot of liquidity out of the market. People aren't buying other NFTs. They've been selling NFTs, particularly at the smaller level where they're less liquid, to try and use that money to get involved in the raffle. It causes utter carnage to the network. It causes further increase of gas. We've got the altcoins running in certain sections. We've got Mekaverse taking up a lot of liquidity. People using gas for Mekaverse. It's understandable that some of these NFTs have been dropping. Nothing has changed about your NFT. For the same reason that you bought it, it is the same reason that you're holding it now. If you bought it because you love it as a great piece of artwork and you think digital art with no utility is great, then that's not changed just because Ethereum's gone up. And it's not changed because gas has been high. And it's not changed because Mekaverse did a raffle. None of that's changed. The same theory that you bought that is still there. Hasn't changed. What you may want to do is consider in these moments, if you find this difficult to handle, if you find this difficult to swallow, if you don't have the temperament for this volatility, you have to ask yourself one of two things. One, are you better served by just going, do you know what? I'm going to invest in something that covers the benefits from the growth of this. I'm going to go and buy some, just Ethereum, just buy some Bitcoin, buy some Phantom, buy some Solana, whatever it is. There's not recommendations, just as in a general idea. Are you not just better off just buying a bit of that, or buying a fund that tracks semiconductors? You know, I've got a fund that I have a VanEck gaming ETF, and it buys into things like Roblox and semiconductor and Taiwan Semiconductor and those things. So it sells the picks and the shovels. If the Metaverse industry grows massively, which I believe it will, you know, my son's going to grow up in a world where it's easier to be online than it is to be offline, which is weird as that is. It's going to be easier to be online. It's going to be more natural to meet people of the opposite sex or the same sex online. It's going to be easier to shop online. No, thank you. That's why we've got the sign on the door saying no molesting. Right. It's going to be easier for people. It's going to be easier for people to shop online. It's going to be easier to do exercise classes online. It's going to be, they're going to see me working online, and so it's going to be very strange for me when I say, hey son, why don't you go outside and play on the trees and eat mud and shoot cap guns at one another and fire spud guns and make bombs with match heads in tennis balls and throw them at walls and I don't know, make petrol bombs or whatever else you do as kids, shoot pigeons. Sound like a right arsehole. It's going to seem rather asinine if I'm saying all that things and I'm working online, doing all things online. So they're going to live their lives online as much as we won't like it, and we're going to evolve in a weird little hunched over way like this. So there's going to be a real big growth in blockchain gaming. There's going to be a real big growth in, you know, we do our banking online. There's going to be growth in semiconductor users and all the things that go along with that industry. So if you find the volatility of this particular super nuanced aspect of the industry too much to handle and you can't handle it and you're worried about losing it, one, you shouldn't be putting the money into it, expecting a return with money you can't afford to lose. And two, maybe this is not the right thing for you, but you can still get great gains elsewhere. So, and don't feel you can, you know, it's just, and I do that. I take money away from certain things. I take risk-off approaches and things. But so that's that. If you want to stay in this sector, it should give you a chance to think about this. And I think this is what I wanted to talk about today. Is have a think about if you really do believe the reasons why you bought into this particular token. If you bought an NFT and you haven't thought about whether or not it's got any utility or long-lasting value, and you bought it because you've seen it recommended in the Discord, or you've seen someone else talk about it, or you've just seen sheer FOMO and you didn't want to miss out because it's been going up, that's not a good enough reason to hold it. So ask yourself what are the right reasons to hold an NFT? what kind of NFTs are going to go back up in value after falling down in value? And what other NFTs would you buy more of if the price went down? Treat it like a stock. Would you buy more if it went down because you believe it's going to get to X value? So you have to have a starting point of what can this NFT be? If you don't know where it's going to be, how are you ever going to hope to get it? You can't just go, I want it to be cyberpunks. I want it because it's not going to be cyberpunks because because that's that's historic. That's that. It's not going to be cyberpunks because cyberpunks are cyberpunks. But could it be more than cyberpunks? Could it be? And why? What are those reasons? Write them down. Have a think about what those things are, and ask yourself why I think it's going to get that. And so then start looking at the team. Who are the team behind it? Now, I said before, in many occasions, some of these teams are going to have to remain anonymous, because if you have a NFT project that is planning to do decentralized finance in one way or another through a Trojan horse of staking or whatever else, there's going to be some issues, because unregulated collective investment schemes are criminal offences in many countries. I'd love it that wasn't the case, just because they're graphic pictures. It's still it's a derivative of money, isn't it? It's a derivative of currency through a piece of paper that we've adapted something to it. We're buying it with the potentially with the inherent hope to get a return. That's the Howey test in America. In the UK, it would fall within certain regulations. My background is the reason why I'm the Tokenomist and not my name. I have an unenviable reputation of having a regulation ban in the UK. I worked in the financial markets for many years, and I'll go into that more in another episode one day. It's the reason why I like decentralized finance. I made some mistakes in the past, and I still have businesses that are completely legitimate now, many, many years later. Or my wife has businesses, and we have our business bank accounts closed because one day it's come up that I had an issue with the regulator 15, 16 years ago. And there's never any getting away from it, because you're on a record somewhere in another country, and that's just it. It's always going to be there. So decentralized finance for me is a way of finding myself again. It's liberating myself from the problems I had in the past. I've served my served my punishment and all the other things. It's my way of having becoming my own sovereign self again. You get in trouble, you lose your job, everything. I'm going to break down and tell you this now. This is worth a whole video itself. But I used to be a stockbroker, got in trouble with a regulator, lost my job, and when you lose a job that is a position of trust, it then has loads of other impacts. You get censored and everything else, and you have to start from scratch. And I literally started from scratch. I had no money, had nothing. I started my life again. I did labouring, and I saved money up, and I opened up a shop, and that one shop became 30 shops, and that 30 shops created a website that also does multi-million revenue, and that created other opportunities and other businesses that I could do, and I rebuilt my whole life. And despite at one stage employing hundreds of people and creating huge amounts of tax revenue through my business relative to what we're doing, and helping people find opportunities. We used to take our staff, and with good ones we would give them the opportunity we'd fund a franchise for them. Loads of little things we're giving back. Despite all of that, you'd suddenly get a letter one day and say, yeah, we have to take the card terminals away because we can't tell you, but it's our business practices. You go, well, do you want to perhaps tell me? And they go, oh, we unfortunately we can't go into that. And it's like, I know why it is, because I got in trouble before, and it's still coming after me. So I'm a firm believer of this. So my thesis of decentralized finance, decentralization. I know there's a lot of people who are unbanked, a lot of people who have suffered these things, and it doesn't go away, and it's becoming more. If you've ever lost a PayPal account, there's no oh, okay, you'll get one back in 5 years. It's like, no, that's it, no PayPal account. Well, PayPal may be banking for the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years. What happens if you can't get a PayPal? You're just forever banned. You're forever blacklisted from using the main payments gateway online. Like, where's the comeback? People who are banned from Twitter, people who are banned from certain social media platforms just indefinitely. Like, that's like that. If the metaverse is where we're moving towards, people are just, that's it. You're just blacklisted from life. And that's not right. So that's why my thesis is I believe decentralization is fundamental. It's fundamentally important, and it's something to defend. So I'm not scared of these things. But anyway, back to the point being is, what is your thesis? What is your reason to stick and hold these things? I'm going to wind and waffling. Securities. I know my background, so I know the point. Some of these are potentially problematic. So some of the leaders are going to have to be anonymous. We're going to have to accept that. Or they could be pseudo-anonymous, like SushiSwap. But Uniswap got raided, not SushiSwap. Uniswap are a doxed organization. Uniswap aren't. SushiSwap aren't, and that's got that inherent value. So there's certain things that we're going to have to accept and swallow, or we go, do you know what, I want to have some centralized aspect. I don't mind if they have a leader and an organization, and we can get regulated. Well, what's the point of all this anyway then? Just get an actual by sharing a company or whatever. You've got to look back and ask yourself, what is the value of what you're holding? Are you prepared to still hold it? And maybe then go, do you know what? I don't believe it. It makes me panic, and it's not for me. Or maybe I should be looking at projects that have real inherent long-term utility value. And it's why I'm excited when I see projects talk about things like staking mechanics. I think there's going to be a clampdown on DeFi at some stage, and I think some of that will use NFTs as a Trojan horse for a time, and I think they may have their own problems. But I think the regulators are so slow to catch up on these things. There'll be a safe haven for a while, potentially. When it comes to things like game utility, I do query it. I think, so as I said, I hold Paladin Pandas. I saw the Mekaverse game thing yesterday. How is a game going to get massive international adoption if you need to spend fortunes to get an avatar character? It just isn't going to work. So what's going to happen is they're going to produce more, and they're going to need to produce more to have the revenue to build the games of that scale. Otherwise, a centralized company with the money is going to come along and build a blockchain game. It's going to be slightly centralized, and we're going to give up some of our centralization to allow them to do it. But we don't care because it's a great game, and they've got the funds behind it, and they've got one or two people running the company, not 10,000, all asking why the price has fallen. When Moon, when Lambo, who are only buying it because they want to flip it and make money on it, and they don't really love the game. They just love the idea of making the flip. Wondering why the price has fallen again. All that stuff. It doesn't make for a good conducive environment to build a decentralized game. And so I put out a thread this morning. I was laying in bed with a slight hangover. I'm going to bring my screen up. And it was just my thoughts on the space at large. I just see some of my tweets now. Alright. I put it out this morning. Bitcoin works as decentralized money because it doesn't need to do anything else. It's just a decentralized money, that's it. It doesn't need to be fancy. It's old tech. It's great tech for what it is. It's perfect tech for what it is. It doesn't need to be great tech. And the problem is when you try and start valuing hard money based on what's the best tech, there'll be a better tech in a year's time. You can't just keep moving the whole world's money into another one, and then into another one, into another one. It doesn't work. There needs to be some sort of stability. So in comparison to what it's up against, it is vastly superior. Are there slightly better blockchains for doing more other things? Yes. But in comparison to where they're all coming from, it's only a few percent better in comparison to where it's coming to. But Bitcoin can work as decentralized. And I've gone on to talk about DAOs and decentralization, but this is my general thesis of views on what we can do as buyers of NFTs to try and make sure that we can still get decentralized businesses that work for a community. We need to make sure that these projects stop creating incoherent, sloppy, unclear, uncertain, ambiguous roadmaps. They're not good enough. They wouldn't hold up in front of an investment fund. They wouldn't hold up if you walked into a bank and asked to raise money from a merchant finance. They just wouldn't hold up. I've seen them all the time, and they damage the price of some of these NFTs. If you see a project that doesn't have a roadmap and you don't have an appetite for sheer volatility and gambling, ask yourself if it's right for you. If they do have a roadmap, ask yourself if that roadmap tells you everything you need to know in that roadmap, or about where money goes, transparency. And if it doesn't, and you ask the question, you don't get the right answer, ask yourself if that's the right team to be backing. You might be able to make money in the short term, but the long term, it may not be the right team. Be able to be honest in the Discord without getting shouted at. Some of these NFTs are going to have to raise more money. There's no way you're going to be. I saw something the other day saying Mekaverse. I swear it's Mekaverse. They're being greedy. They want 0.2 ETH for the minting. Of course they do. They want to build a insane game. You're not going to do that on $1 million. We've got to stop just deluding ourselves that these projects that go, oh, we're going to add a game to it. Well, how are you going to add a real game that means anything? There's probably apps you can download where you can just plug a game in, but they're not building a game. They're just piggybacking something else, and that's not going to set a trend and become a value in and of itself. They're just white labeling someone else's game. Projects that want to build their own game are going to require huge sums of money, vast sums of money, and I think that's something that most people aren't really getting. This project's going to have to come back and get more money in some other way. We need to start asking some of these leaders of these projects. They may be, they might need anonymity, but there's no reason why they can't have a code of conduct. And if they fail to adhere to that code of conduct in terms of how often votes should be, about what issues, we should force them to be vesting their holdings as well. So that means they can only start to release and sell their holdings of their own NFT tokens over certain time periods. This would kind of create some accountability, and no one's asking for this right now. And I think this is what we all need to start asking, and we need to stop shouting people down, even like myself, for calling it FUD in Discord when we bring up things that are to the benefit of all of us. If we want NFTs to stick around, if we want NFT projects to work, if we want NFTs to make us money, then we need to start holding some of these projects to account, and it will, well, it'll bring more money into it. People aren't going to come money into the sector if all we're seeing is rug pulls. So that's about it, really. If you can handle my absolute diatribe today, it's went on a lot longer than I expected to, actually. You can always jump onto my Twitter. Here you go. That's me. Just subscribe, Real Tokenomist, and I just talk about crap in general, really. Or I just get drunk on Discord and just message abuse. But other than that, if you like the cut of my jib, check us out. Don't forget, if you've got Winter Bears, keep an eye out for the town hall tonight. If you've got Cryptodads, hope you like that bit of news reading between the lines. Oh yeah, the markets. Yeah, they're a bit better today. Some Chinese company, they're a major shareholder of Evergrande, have been offered money to be taken private, which means gave a bit of confidence into the Hang Seng last night. We've seen big movement from Alibaba and Tencent in the shares. Why have the stocks got a bit friendlier? Real estate companies went up a little bit in the Chinese markets and probably will do in the rest of the world. Because if people are prepared to buy the major shareholder of Evergrande and take them back private, it means the market's not completely dead, and therefore Evergrande might be able to find buyers for some of its assets, and therefore the world may not implode. And that's probably a good thing. So on that note, have an amazing weekend. I'll be back on Monday. Thanks for watching.